Well, welcome everyone to week 2 of June's Advisor Ambassador Program. My name is Zach Hewells, Program Engagement Manager at NAFA. I would like to welcome you all to this session today, which is Build Your Professional Network. Now, this is kind of a special session, different from the rest of them. What we are doing this time around is more of a more open dialogue discussion. So I do highly encourage you to ask questions in the Zoom chat, or unmute yourself, or even share your camera if you're feeling brave enough, and we can meet as a group in here and just sort of talk a little bit about networking and how things have changed. Camille is, of course, here as the as someone to help facilitate with that and answer some questions about networking itself. And but as I said, it is an open dialogue, so if you have any pressing questions about it, feel free to ask, and we can sort of add it to the discussion and the dialogue. But I did want to go ahead and turn things over to Camille to have her introduce herself a little bit, and then we'll dive right in. So welcome, Camille.
Thanks, Zach. And again, I apologize. I'm on my phone camera, so it's definitely not my usual angle. And on my phone, I can only see my little window. So one of those things is just be flexible, right? It's kind of nice that we have our phones can do what our computers do. So as Zach said, my name is Camille Tan. I'm actually the current chapter president of the state of Illinois. So I've been involved with NAFA for quite a while, pretty much my whole career. So as they've developed this ambassador program, it's been a real fun thing for me to do, is to help Zach and kind of get a chance to talk to some people and do some things that are kind of unique, which is really fun and an exciting time to be a new person in this industry. I've been in the industry for, now I'm been in the industry so long, I'm starting to lie about how long I've been in the industry. But I have been in the industry for a solid 15 years and have built a career in both a multi-line industry and then now in a specialized financial services practice. So kind of well-versed in all of that, and happy to answer any questions and be here to help moderate.
Sure. So I know that you won't say exactly how long ago, but how did you get your start exactly?
Yeah, well, so I am I actually don't think I'm actually that unique. There's a lot of us that we are now starting to call ourselves legacies. We had parents in the industry. So I was fortunate to have a father who was a successful agent his whole career. So I kind of grew up in the industry, if you will, but I also wasn't sure that was going to be my career. Actually, what really happened is as I finished up with college, I realized I was going to need a master's to go on. I majored in psychology, and behavioral economics kind of was my focus. And I knew I was going to need to go on for school, but I was kind of done with school. And I'm sure there's people who can relate to kind of just being done. So Dad said, well, why don't you come into the practice and, help me out for at least, he goes, give me at least 2 years. He goes, and then you can decide if you want to go back to school. So as we fast forward, that never happened. I've obviously taken a lot of continuing ed in the industry, but this became my home, and we decided to build our practice together. So yeah, that's kind of how I came in, was I'll try it out, and then I never left.
So what kind of practice is it?
So we are a pretty dedicated financial services. Retirement planning is our specialty. I focus a lot on life insurance and disability insurance and annuities. And Dad is definitely very much, most of his clients are, seniors or coming into retirement. So a lot of annuity work, a lot of financial services work, and a lot of life insurance. That is kind of one of our main staples, is the insurance aspect of the financial plan.
Gotcha. So at what point in your business did you say, all right, I'm getting kind of my feet wet in there, now I need to start really growing? How did you start to decide to make that shift, to network exactly?
To start actively networking, well, honestly, that's something that we kind of started doing a lot when I got into the practice. My father had an established practice, so he wasn't doing a ton of networking, if you will. So then when I came in, we knew that we needed to grow. You need to keep bringing on clients in order to grow your practice. So we decided to and we still do, kind of tag team the networking, if you will. I handle some of it, he handles some of it, and that seems to work really well for a team approach. But definitely, it's an interesting point when you do have a parent or if you have a relative in the industry, and I think everybody struggles with this, is you need to build your own network. If you want to think of it this way, all my friends and family were already clients of my father. So I needed to figure out how to find people that were outside of that natural bubble, if you will. I didn't have the, the group that you would typically rely on, your aunts and your uncles and your grandparents and those people that I know a lot of us start our practices with. That wasn't really an option. So we knew I needed to find a way to bring people unrelated into our firm as clients.
So what were some of the ways you did that?
Definitely, I think we all start out with the chambers of commerce. And from the chamber, I would highly recommend finding a little bit more niche group, if you will. So we picked kind of what we like to do and kind of merged that. So I like working with young professionals. So any of the young professional groups are definitely who I started my networks with, and helping grow the young professional network at the Chamber of Commerce was a big benefit when I was young. But it was definitely finding some niche groups. So if you're involved in certain things that you would like to do, that's where your network seems to naturally evolve. Initially, I know a lot of people are involved in book clubs, young professional networks, alumni clubs. Those things that you like to do are the ones that I think are fun, and then you can merge growing your network into both professional, and then it's not so much work all the time. You actually enjoy talking to those people, if you will.
Yeah. So would you say that with those diverse groups of, the professional versus like sort of personalized groups, that's sort of the way you categorize and structure them? Or do you have like another method of structuring them that makes it a little more easy to discern?
Actually, that's a great question. Because they are different groups. When you're networking to get clients directly versus networking to build that professional network is a little bit different. And it's not entirely different in that the goal is kind of the end goal is to help people and to get your name out there and to kind of build a reputation. But definitely there's ones for professional building the practice as building our sources of referrals. So basically our COIs, there's that network. And then there's the actual personal people that we would like to do business with. So the business owners, the alumni, those types of groups are more, I'm networking to help them directly versus networking to help a professional also become an expert in their field. So it's just a slightly different take on the two. And that's kind of how I have always structured it, is, whether you're one or the other kind of thing. And a lot of it overlaps, don't get me wrong, but you just I've always done that where I kind of approach it a little bit different depending on who I'm talking to.
Sure. So a lot of that has been face-to-face, but I know that a lot of the main topic that we've been talking about is the virtual aspect of it. So, maybe for you personally, what's changed since COVID-19 for your network?
Yeah, pretty much everything. So tons and tons. I think all of us have decided we all live on Zoom, or GoToMeeting or whatever platform. I made a joke the other day. It was so nice to see people not in our little boxes. I said, I feel like we're all on the Brady Bunch, or some sort of somebody called it Hollywood Squares. It's just this funny, we all see each other in our little boxes. And I would like to, a lot of the groups did switch over and start doing some Zoom meetings and start doing some virtual networking. Not initially. I think everybody was a little kind of oh, what are we going to do? But there's been a lot of virtual happy hours, a lot of virtual networking with different professional groups. They still needed speakers and experts for their meetings. So just like NAFA swung to a virtual platform, a lot of those groups swung and just were asking for content if we would be available to help them with a virtual meeting, which was kind of nice since we've already been doing it with NAFA. It was kind of an easy swing for us, as you will.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking about this a lot because we've been talking about it on our calls, but since everything's sort of shifted to a virtual capacity, we've noticed that a lot of clients get their information through Google and all these other internet sources, and everyone can just access information at their fingertips easily. So how has that changed the networking landscape, just with everyone being able to Google things?
I love, you got to love Google, right? Everybody can go to WebMD and be a doctor. So it's no different in our industry. What that I think makes you do is you have to be a little bit more prepared. And I think I make a joke that we used to, back when I very first started, one of our biggest competitors or one of our biggest issues to get over was, I used to call him Uncle Bob. Is somebody would, it's whether it was a neighbor or a friend or a family member that was a trusted confidant to a client. It was like they were always kind of like vetting your information a little bit, and that's only natural. I think we all do that. Nobody buys a car without figuring out what it's supposed to cost. So people have a natural, they want to make sure they're making the right decision, especially when it comes to financials. So that's just has switched a little bit more to that, information at the power of your fingertips, good, bad. It's kind of both. It's nice that clients can go and, especially like the carriers we represent, have wonderful client facing pages. So we're like, please Google them, take a look at this page, take a look at this carrier's rating. That's the good part. The bad part is then, as we all know, like one bad experience from a client, one bad review can be like, all over the internet. So it's the information out there is, some of it's accurate, some of it's not. So you just have to be very prepared. Know your products, know your carriers, know what you're doing with your client, know why you're doing it, and kind of just be, you really need to be an expert. And that's where I think NAIFA and a lot of the carriers are good at this too, but particularly NAIFA has so much programming to offer to help you become an expert, so that you know what's going on in the industry, you know what to talk about, and then you kind of know what your clients are hearing already, because you're getting that news feed. So that's always great to be prepared, because they are, especially in a virtual world, they're going to Google you, they're going to Google what you tell them. We have a virtual appointment setting and some virtual ad space. And part of that platform is that you better have a pretty decent virtual presence when you're running that, because they don't meet you face to face. So you don't get the opportunity to shake hands and talk to them and kind of form that bond of trust. You're doing it over the internet. And that makes it it's not impossible, but it does make it a little bit more challenging, because at any point in time, if you're doing an online webinar, they can like Google everything you said and fact check you, kind of like we do with our politicians, right? So it's just know that by knowing that and by being prepared, it's really easy to be on topic, know what you're talking about as a professional, and that just reaffirms that you're giving them the correct information.
Just wanted to point that out.
No problem.
So no, great. How active would you say that your your virtual networking? You talked a little bit about the online aspect of it, but what portion of it would you say is social media?
You know what? That's one thing I will be brutally honest. I fail miserably at social media. That's I don't even have a Facebook page personally. I am not a social media maven, if you will, and I know that that's super important. And I will advise everybody that is such a great avenue to put information and content out there as a resource, and kind of build your professional persona and what you do in this career in our industry. And it's something that I'm not great at. I've actually, since this new world, this new post-corona, post-COVID world, I have made a mental checklist of things I need to get better at. That's one of them. Now, LinkedIn is probably the one that I use the most, and because it's got some really nice search features, so I can really peg who I want to talk to and reach out to those people and send. And I try to just schedule, like sending out how many connections I can send out to different groups to try to form a connection that way. And same thing, whether I'm reaching out to them, whether it's a fellow like professional association or individuals, LinkedIn provide that one. I think just provides a nice search, as opposed to like Facebook where you search names. You can search different types of business owners, dentists, dental students, things like that. And so I kind of have been using LinkedIn to work on building that virtual and professional network in cyberspace, if you will.
Yeah, LinkedIn, that's a big one. We recently polled about 300 plus of our advisors and agents, and I think it was just north of 80% of them use LinkedIn. So as like their main avenue.
It seems to be the one, and I think partly because it's searchable by profession. And one of the things that I was told when I was really young is find a niche, be a specialist in an area, instead of a generalist in all areas. And I think we're all, I mean, that's not to say we're not all generalists to a certain extent, but if you work well with a certain demographic, if your engineering's background, and you can talk to an engineer and you can work with engineers, it's, build a network of engineers, or different types of doctors, nurse anesthetists, there's specialties that you can find, and LinkedIn really helps you define, because you can put in exactly what you're looking for, and you can pull up those types of connections to start a connection with those people.
That's true, because Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, it's a lot harder to find that network, that market, because
Right.
I have seen some advisors with some success on Instagram. They post regularly and they make stories and get a little bit of a following, but it's not as easy to crack into, I would say, based on trying to find that audience.
Right, because you're trying to find the audience that you can communicate to well, and they can understand you well, and then you really understand what they're looking to do. And if you can do that, it really, if your message can resonate with them, if you know that they graduate with X amount of dollars on average of student debt, and you have some solutions for them, that's a really powerful and very direct message. It's different than, hey, I can help you plan your future. I can help you do this. I can help you do that. It's like, hey, I know on average, you guys have about $102,000 worth of student debt by the time you graduate. We've been able to help our clients chip away at that and pay it down faster than they would if they didn't meet with somebody like us. Perhaps we can set up a time to chat. And it's those specific messaging that's specific to that group will resonate much more.
Yeah, I would love to see more advisors get involved on YouTube. Just putting content out there for younger.
I totally agree, because we know videos work. We use video messaging for all different things, and YouTube is kind of one of those things. And I don't know if it's because, the general public probably doesn't want to, Google, put in YouTube, hey, retirement planning. I'm not sure, maybe they don't think it's exciting.
But I know that content exists there. I've seen it.
It does. And a lot of advisors put a lot of video content out, and we've just started, again, this post-COVID world. That's one of the things that we're going to work on. And instead of like just newsletters, we're going to start doing more video, just quick video nuggets to our clients and to our prospects.
So would you say that some of those social media aspects are one of those biggest changes you would make to your personal networking,
Yes.
or they're more maybe more than just the social media as well?
Definitely social media is probably going to be the biggest change coming out of this. And then just really honing in on messaging, and like you said, with everything being Googleable, and look at it's between the messaging and being on topic. That's, I think, become more important than ever. Is the market is changing rapidly daily. The messages that clients are getting are a little conflicting. One day the market's losing historic amount, the next day it's gaining. There's a lot of confusion out there, if you will. So finding ways to be in front of your clients, finding ways to be in front of your prospects on a continual basis with up-to-date current information that can help them, I think, is a big, that's going to be a big target of ours, if you will.
Offering them resources that otherwise they would just Google and maybe it would be wrong. Yeah, that makes sense. So, how would you say that some of that networking that you do, that you were doing pre-COVID is, different? Like, what's sort of the main takeaway other than social media and changing your messaging? Would you say that it's all about branding yourself?
Yes. Yeah. And I definitely think that branding is going to become, and as I'm looking at your awesome NAFA backdrop there, I think branding, and I don't know if anybody else has seen this, it's so clever, but with the paid versions of Zoom and there's different ways you can actually, I've seen a lot of advisors who tag, and they have just one guy has, it's almost like a CNN scroll on the bottom, and it's got his name as if he was like an anchor. It was really neat. I'm like, that kind of branding stuff that's actually pretty simple, pretty cheap to do, is going to make an impact, because I think a lot of clients now are going to be more comfortable having virtual reviews, having virtual meetings, that it's just kind of pushing us to that space where I think we were kind of headed anyway, where we can do a meeting, as your clients move around the country. If you have recent graduates as a client, within a couple of years could take a job somewhere else. And now with all the virtual capabilities and the virtual branding to find you, I think that's all going to kind of like tie together.
Yeah, I'm sure we're all excited to get back to face though. I know I am. And what would you say, like, like a NAFA meeting, for instance, what would you say were some of your biggest takeaways from going to personal face-to-face NAFA
You
meetings?
know, it's just like our clients. It's the relationship building, and all the people and all the relationships you meet and that you can network with. And for that, like it's a question, and it's a very valid question that a lot of young advisors have, is like, why would I join a group of a bunch of other insurance agents? I'm not going to find any business there. Probably true. But what you will find is just how I was talking about earlier, is ways to be an expert and tips and tricks that are going to help you get better faster, with people who are willing to share. And so when you meet those people face to face and you get a chance to talk to them and find out what's working for them or get some ideas, like the video idea is from one of our local, he's from downstate Illinois, but he doesn't do any like the traditional newsletters or emails. It's all video content, and his clients love it. It's quick. They know it's going to be like a 2-minute video, and they'll give them a quick update. And I was like, that's a great idea. A, you don't have to write it. B, you just, it's like, you have to have the video production capacity, but it's not, with today's technology, it's not as hard as it used to be. So I think the ideas you get and the expertise, I was literally was on a talk or on a webinar like 2 days ago, and they were talking about the economy and basically some of the disconnect between what the market's doing and what the economic indicators are, and how that is going to lead to a lot of instability down the road. So last night, I had a workout group, and so we met, we were doing a virtual workout, and one of the guys in the group had asked, he's like, gosh, did anybody see what the market did today? And I was like, oh, kind of a loaded question, because you're like, oh, I want to jump in and say something. So I just started talking about basically what I had just heard. And I was like, I said, this is it's been my gut feeling, but I was just listening to this economist, and he's like, God, I just read a blog about that. He goes, yeah. And so we kind of started this little sidebar conversation. Well, he wants to make an appointment, because he's
Awesome.
like, yeah, I didn't realize that's, he goes, I didn't really realize that's what you did, but I had unknowingly backed some information he found on the internet and he was thinking about, and then, thank God it meshed, right? But at the same time, it was just a kind of an unexpected, and I don't know that I would have gone there had I not been listening to that webinar. That was one of the ones through through NAFA.
Yeah, that's the thing about, virtual events, you can really get a lot of impact out of it, but I do think, there's something about that face-to-face too, so hopefully we can all get back to that today, of course. But
yep, for sure.
I did want to say that part of this class used to be building your network, but also with a mentor-mentee component as well, of how to find a mentor or a mentee if you're looking for that as well. On site at an in-person meeting, or maybe NAFA or otherwise, have you ever found someone that became sort of like an unofficial mentor or mentee to you?
Oh gosh, yes, I have a whole host of mentors and that I have helped me in the industry tremendously, most officially and unofficially. And I know there are some more official mentor programs that you can build with people and do a little bit more formal agreement. I've been fortunate enough that just through the NAFA meetings and through going and volunteering my time, I've found so many people, they're so willing to help and so willing to give you ideas. If you stumble upon, a case that you're not quite sure about, if you need some information, a resource, yes, there's definitely a great place to find people who are willing to help and want to mentor people. There's a definite, lack of young people in our industry. I think so. That's been a problem for a long time. That's not new, but because of that, it's a lot of the veteran agents are more than willing to try to help. They want to see you succeed. I've been at different meetings. It's fun when it's like, I laugh that it's like all of a sudden I've become like the old person in the room and I'm shepherding around the new people at the meeting, but it happens, and it's a lot of fun. And then you become very, invested in their success and you want to help. So on both sides, I can now understand why so many of my friends became mentors to me, and why it's very fun for me to watch young people come into this industry and succeed and build a career here.
Yeah, and we've had this discussion before on this class, but a lot of people don't always know when they're entering a mentor-mentee relationship, and sometimes people say that they don't even realize it until they've been a mentor or a mentee for months. They don't even realize that they have been one. It just sort of happens naturally.
It does, and I think that's also why it's sometimes hard to, because I know that's one of the things that we've worked so hard on trying to build up some programming to match mentors and mentees. It's such an organic thing, and usually when it's organic, it works because
Yeah.
they don't even know. All of a sudden you're kind of vested in someone's success, or you realize that you're kind of relying on somebody and they're really helping you and showing you new things and helping you in this career. And it's a career that I think it takes somebody who's in it to really understand it. So coaching is great. I love coaching, but at the same time, there's something special about somebody just genuinely helping you and wanting to see you succeed. And they're so willing to share their knowledge with us that take full advantage of it. That
Yeah.
they're willing to, people who've been there, it's a hard, it's hard to do this all on your own, and to learn what people have spent 40 years in this industry, that what they know, they're willing to share with you. Take advantage of that.
Yeah. Have you been involved in any sort of organization in the financial insurance world that other than NAFA that like have given you some of those relationships and networking?
Oh, I'm sorry, you broke up just a little bit. Or
Oh.
professional organizations other than NAFA?
Mm-hmm. Like, how have you gotten involved outside of just outside of some of the different groups that we've had?
Again, kind of organically. So like I'm not involved in a lot of professional organizations for our industry outside of NAFA. But then professionally, I've been involved with the young I'm using the NAFA term, Young Advisors Network. I've been involved with, there's young business owners and young professionals networks. Those have been a big part of my business, just because we tend to be about the same age. We tend to have some of the same concerns. So those have been a big part of my network. And then as I'm getting older, different networks, a lot of it just kind of grows from that. We do a lot of, and we're in a multi-generational practice, so we've been finding ourselves recently very involved with some business transition networks, people who are looking to buy and sell businesses. We just kind of fell into it again organically, helping them because we understand some of those transitions. So even though we're not necessarily in whatever that business is, we do understand generational planning. So that's kind of, again, organic growth, if you will, is how we tend to find a lot of that stuff, and kind of just because it aligns with where you're going anyway, it just works really well.
Yeah. Well, it's all great stuff. I was just going to ask if you could, maybe just for the sake of the group, if maybe there's one or two or three takeaways just to really nail down the topic of networking.
Sure.
What would you say?
Well, I think number one, you have to be authentic. So it has to be something that you are interested in and you want to be there anyway. If we all have that story, and we all know that guy who just walks into the room and passes out his card to like everybody there, like, don't be that guy. So be authentic. And pick groups that you're interested in, because if you're interested in them and you genuinely want to help them, you will your message will go further and you're going to make more of an impact. So I think that's that, being authentic and finding groups that you're interested in that align with your practice is kind of that perfect overlap. If you try to network with pick a historical society and you absolutely hate history, like, it's just not going to work well, and it's going to be a chore. But if it's someplace, you think that there's wealthy business owners or somebody you want to target, it's very tempting to get involved with groups that you may not align with. So stick within a niche of things that you're interested in, things that you care about, and you're willing to volunteer your time for. That I think is, whether it's virtual or in person, is the best way you can network, because that way you become a resource to those people. They like you, you like them, and natural growth will occur from that. It's time consuming, but it'll get there.
Awesome. Well, perfect. I do want to open it up to anybody else. If anyone else has any questions, you can unmute or share your screen as well. Or you can share it in the chat as also here. And we can just talk a little bit about some of the other things. Maybe something that's not going well for you and you want to talk a little bit about it, or ways that you've tried to network. That's what we're here for.
Yes, and networking can be really challenging. So do not feel defeated, because it can feel like you are at every event and you're going to everything, you're on every virtual Zoom you can be on in the last couple months and you're not getting anything. A tip that we implemented years ago in our office is whenever we get involved with stuff, we give it 6 months to a year of involvement. And we also pick stuff that we enjoy doing. So you don't feel like you're dragging yourself, but it's okay to reevaluate your involvement in stuff. If you feel like I'm just not getting anywhere with this group, or it's just not going great for me, that's fine. That's why we allow ourselves a 6 months to a year eval on anything that we join to see if it's good, if it's fitting well, or if it's not fitting well. And sometimes you have to just jettison stuff and, pick a different priority.
Absolutely. Well, if there aren't any questions, then I do appreciate everyone's time, and Camille, I do appreciate your time as well. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your expertise with us. For everyone else on the call, if you do think of some questions for Camille after the fact, or you want to ask them more in an email format, Camille, if it's okay with you, I would, and if I can give them your email if they do reach out to me.
Absolutely. If you have, because I know sometimes it's everything's a little personal to us, and especially networking, or if you need any advice on resources, because building your professional network, like I said, if we're building our COIs, is a little different than your personal network. And those resources that you can provide to those, your accountants, your real estate agents, the people that you're hoping to become referral sources for you, there's a lot of stuff out there. And that's a great way to build a great network, is to start with those COIs and then build into those niche groups. But if you think of something, or if you have a question, be happy to answer any emails, or please feel free to share my info.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to type in the recruitment@nafa.org email in there. So if you do have any questions for Camille or for myself, feel free to email me there, and I will pass them along to Camille. And this was recorded, so you can access the recording after the fact. Hopefully nothing goes wrong with the recording. We can just send it out. And next week we have a Master Your Brand, Maximize Your Growth, which will talk a little bit more about some of that online branding that Camille and I touched on today. So hope to see you all there. And Camille, again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone being on this call.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right,
everybody. Hopefully we'll see each other in person at some point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
All right. Take care, Zach.
Take care.